And Texas enacted one of the strictest abortion laws in the country. The law now bans abortion just after the fetal heartbeat is detected. This comes after the U.S. Supreme Court declined to block it. Abortion rights groups see the law as a direct challenge to Roe versus Wade, the landmark 1973 decision legalizing abortion. The law also allows citizens to sue anyone who helps a woman obtain an abortion. So here to help us break this all down, because it is just so much to unfold. She's from Planned Parenthood. It's Ianthe Metzger. Welcome back. We're also joined by our legal correspondent, Dr. Laura McNeal. And Ianthe, you'll have to silence that call. It's okay. No, it's all good. So I want to first ask you, what was your first thought? Because you and I spoke yesterday, and you were very optimistic that the Supreme Court would intervene, and yet they didn't. So what was your thought after that?
You know, I immediately thought about our patients on the ground, our providers on the ground. They're the ones who are really suffering the most. I mean, here at Planned Parenthood Federation, we obviously feel the pain, and we understand that this is really, really devastating. But on the ground, this is their life's work. This is what they've been trained to do, what they've wanted to do for a long time, and now they can't. And it's really, really, I just can't understate the impact that this will have on those communities and all the people that we work with every day.
Yeah, you look I can see the sadness in your eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, we had some calls with the affiliates earlier today, and they are just heartbroken. I mean, they were trying to provide care up until the last minute last night, and now their whole world is different, and they have to sort of relearn how to be helpful to patients. It's really, really horrifying that we're going through this. But, the Supreme Court, we hope that they will still rule, and that they will give a positive ruling, or just allow the district court proceedings to move forward so that we can at least get access back to patients in Texas.
All right, well, let's get that legal perspective. Dr. Laura, is that a possibility?
It is. It's still a possibility the Supreme Court can intervene and stop this law from going any further. But the problem is the fact that they did not intervene before the law went into effect suggests that they're not going to intervene. They're going to wait until this fall when they listen to the Mississippi challenge to their abortion law and see whether or not Roe versus Wade will indeed be overturned. But until then, based on what I've seen, I honestly don't think they're going to intervene for the state of Texas.
And as you mentioned earlier, Ianthe, abortion clinics in Texas, they were working to the bitter end. One clinic actually tweeting out, "We have staff and doctors providing abortions in Texas still at this hour. They are all in and here to provide care until 11:59. What about the women who were scheduled for an abortion who missed that deadline and are now past that 6-week mark? What options do they have?
If you needed an abortion yesterday, you need one today, quite frankly. And so it's really, really horrifying that we're at this point. We're going to work with partners to try to get those women access out of state, try to get them the resources that they need to access the care that that is constitutionally protected to them. But it's really, really difficult. And I'll say as well, at many of these clinics in Texas, they were protesters outside. There were protesters outside at midnight who were saying the law is in effect now, and they were looking for people to harass. And that is the point. And can you imagine just having to go to a clinic to get a procedure done and have these people out there attacking you? Like, that's the circumstances that our patients are having to deal with right now on the ground as well.
Dr. Laura, when you hear Ianthe say that they're going to drive patients out of state, are there legal ramifications for that?
They're not. The good thing about the Texas law is it only applies within their boundaries, their territory. So if someone drives someone from Texas to Louisiana to get an abortion, that's perfectly fine. The law covers any abortion procedures after 6 weeks that's actually done in the state of Texas. And so the sad part is a lot of women will have to make that very long drive. We know Texas is a huge state, and that really adds some unnecessary burdens on them based on this Texas law.
All right, Ianthe, my question to you is, for those able to travel the distance, that distance is now growing on average from 12 miles to 248 miles, according to a study. I believe it's a Guttmacher Institute. Can you talk about how that's problematic for poor women? Because rich women, ultimately, they can go anywhere in the country.
That's absolutely right. I mean, this law bans abortion for people who cannot afford it because, as you're saying, rich women can go anywhere. And it's going to be the women of color, women with low incomes who have the hardest time accessing care. They cannot afford to travel. They cannot afford the transportation costs, the lodging, childcare, taking time off work, food, just being out of state. Like, there are so many different variables here that I feel like we need to consider when we talk about these laws. And it's really going to impact those women the most. And we're doing everything we can to give them the resources. And some of that will be direct funding where possible so that they can access the abortion that they need.
Yeah, and perhaps I should have said women with means versus rich women, but it still impacts our sisters who look like us, whether black, white, brown, yellow, or green. Dr. Laura, let's talk about the legal ramifications now for clinics. Now, not only will they need to hire an attorney if they are sued, but if they win the case, there's a provision in this new law that actually prevents them from recouping attorney fees and legal fees. Do you feel, better yet, on your legal knowledge, excuse me, is this a blatant attempt for the state to financially bleed abortion clinics dry?
Yes, and so essentially this has been one of the primary legal challenges to this law, is how it does impact those abortion clinics or abortion providers. And so, yes, the law is intended to discourage them, to be a deterrence for them continuing to provide any abortion services to women. And that's what makes this Texas law so unique. Not only, as our guest said, do they deputize citizens to potentially harass women that are going to these clinics to get abortions, as well as anyone who assists them, but it also is set up to deplete the resources of a lot of these clinics. And so, very controversial law. It is the strictest abortion law in the country, which is why there's so much controversy surrounding this at this time.
Yeah, Ianthe, I have a question for you, because I just find it so ironic. We keep hearing these anti-maskers whining about my right to choose. I don't want to get vaccinated. I don't need to do it. It's my body. It's my choice. But what is the difference with a woman choosing to do what she wants with her body?
That's a really good question. I feel like there's a lot of hypocrisy out there when it comes to this issue. This law definitely makes your abortion everyone's business. And it's really, really interesting that I think that they've co-opted that language to talk about anti-maskers versus, just women making a personal decision about their bodies and about their futures. So it just shows the hypocrisy of folks on the other side who are against abortion, because it generally is the same people. It's the same folks who are against abortion that are against masking, and they're the ones who are the loudest sometimes in this conversation. But we need to center the women and the people on the ground who are doing the work, who are providing the care, and who will be impacted the most now that this law is in effect.
Yeah, and not only is this law in effect today, but there's also a law in Texas that makes it easier to open carry. So, I mean, Ianthe, this is for you. And Dr. Laura, I basically want you to talk to a young woman out there who does not have the means to travel across state lines, and she just has her back against the wall, and she's thinking of things I don't even want to say of doing to herself because she doesn't have any option. What do you say to her? Where does she go? What resources does she have?
Wow, you're going to make me very emotional with that question, because I'm sure that there are many women who are experiencing that today, right now. I would tell her to go to our website, go to plannedparenthood.org. We will connect you with the closest provider in state. There's also abortionfinder.org, where you can go to find clinics, not just Planned Parenthood ones, but independent clinics as well, and talk to somebody. Just talk to somebody right away. I know that on our side, we've staffed up in our call centers to make sure that we have more people to, get those, to take those calls and to answer those questions, because we want people to feel seen and heard and to know that they're not alone in this. And it's difficult for everybody, but we know that there are going to be people who face the hardest, who have the hardest things to deal with at this time. And we want them to know that we are here for them, and that they can reach out to us. We will find them the support that they need, and we will make sure that they know that they have options, and that we are going to help them access those.
And Ianthe, to make sure that they are seen and heard, can you just please shout your Twitter out so maybe they can just hit you up directly?
Sure, happy to. My Twitter is IANTHE Walrus, WALRUS. Feel free to DM me. We're happy to connect you with the appropriate folks on the ground. We really want people to know that we are here for them, and we're working overtime to get them the care that they need.
Yeah, I appreciate you both, and best of luck. Please keep us posted.